Servus and welcome to another episode of the Pro Hockey Pod, episode 28. This week we got another fellow Burlington alumni, Burlington Eagles, Burlington Cougars for a short amount of time. You know, he wasn't good enough to go against the top line guys, so he had to go up to the OHL. This guy, worked out with him for many years, both on and off the ice. Tremendous work ethic. Never seen somebody enjoy running so much, especially those long distance ones. We were always chasing after him, but known for his work ethic, had a very long pro career. Now has transitioned to the work world and also family life, dad of two. Welcome to the podcast, Brett Flemming.
Appreciate it, Hairsy. Yeah, man, we've had some grueling summers, some grueling workouts, lots of time on the ice together. We probably worked out together for over 10 years, probably, wouldn't it be?
For sure. Like we started obviously when Twist had just opened, so whatever that was, like 2004 or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's been a long time. We were fortunate, right? Like we had a good group of guys. We had, me, you, and Swartzy and Hutch probably, for the longest time. Paul and Freeney working out with us, some guys to push us, right? Like those are guys who work hard, and if you're working hard, you're pushing them, they're pushing you. So lots of benefits to working out with you and those other three there.
Yeah, we were very fortunate, and we also had when we started, we had guys like Chad Wiseman, Corey Locke, guys have been playing pro a long time, and we were just coming up through minor hockey and then for yourself, OHL. And then in the end, we became those guys. And then we had guys like Jeff Malik come in, Oliver Chow, guys that we hopefully gave some advice to. I don't know, but
yeah, it happened like the flip of a switch. It was like all of a sudden you were the old guy. You're like, when did this happen? And all these young studs coming up.
Crazy, man, watching guys freaking clean 350 with no problem.
I know. Yeah, Jeff was a beast. He was like a gazelle running too. He was good. He seems to be doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah, no, he's had a good career so far. Oliver Chow as well is doing well after college.
Do you know who works out at my gym now is Ethan Spaxman?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he just like he was like in the locker room, and all of a sudden like he comes up to me. I was like, "Oh man, I haven't seen you in forever. How you been?" So he like works. He drives through Burlington to work, so he stops at the gym every once in a while in the morning. So I see him every once in a while now.
You still doing the 6 a.m. grinds, or what? I got to get in the gym before work?
Yeah, I mean, there's no other time to do it. It's either you go in the morning or you don't go at all. So I do the 5:30 wake up call and head to the gym and then straight to work after.
That's smart though. Like I could not go after work if I had no chance.
No. Are you still getting some lifts in, or are you?
I'm like you, like, so because of my commute now to Mannheim, I actually get up at 5:30. I drive there, get there for 6:30, go in the gym before the guys get there. And then other days like here, I would go, like, I try to stay in shape, I think it's just in our DNA. Like we don't feel normal unless we're like, getting a sweat in and getting the adrenaline out.
I definitely feel like if I go into work and I haven't worked out, like I feel dull. Like I'm sharp when I go to the gym. Like I'm in there, I'm yelling at people and like just bringing all this energy. Like I've already done the hardest part of my day, like, and I'm hopping right into work. Like I'm ready to go. So I think it's beneficial to work out in the morning, get your energy level up.
Focus is there, getting ready for the day.
Yeah, it's easy for you though. Like you have access to like a gym, like right at your work, right?
Yeah. So now it's obviously good. I guess that's a benefit of working in the hockey business. There's always a gym somewhere nearby. No excuses.
I would assume Mannheim setup's pretty nice because, like, I mean, I've just seen like their arena, the like inside of it, but like I'm sure their dressing room's nice and the workout facility is awesome.
The dressing room is NHL. Like, to be quite honest, yeah. To be honest, like the only negative thing, if you would say, is like the gym is kind of small, but it's still got everything you need. And
yeah, small for a group of 20
for a team.
Men, right? Yeah. But like for you, just hopping in there, probably everything you'd ever need, right?
Oh, dude, they have everything there. They got saunas, like 5 cold tubs. Like it's just.
Oh, yeah, that's like my dream.
Get over here.
Yeah, I was trying, man. I was trying to get to Germany for a while, but it was like sometimes at some moments it was like, oh, maybe someone's interested, and then you just never hear again, man.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
But no, good that I could have you on, man. So obviously, as I explained kind of off camera, we're just going to go through your career here. If there's things I might point out to you, get your opinion on. I think there's definitely some good good tips for the younger generation, stuff that you definitely went through, choices you had to make in your life. Take it back to the roots. So obviously, we met each other, I think like 2002, 2003, just kind of through the Eagles. Obviously, I was a year older than you, but you were actually born not in Ontario. You were born on, I believe, in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Yeah. So I was born there. I don't even remember being there. Moved here when I was 3. So I always say that I have the prairie blood in me, but really I don't. I don't remember anything. Um, yeah, and then parents. My brother played hockey. Wanted to be like my older brother. Hopped into the Eagles organization. Obviously a lot of support from parents, as you know, getting up there. And then once we started getting a little bit older, I kind of took a step, like kind of hit puberty, to be honest. And then like I took a big step, and that's when I started getting called up to your team, which was awesome. You guys seem to always need players, and I probably played like 30 games with you guys one year, which was your guys' draft year. So it was beneficial for me. I was getting exposure without even like really realizing, right? Like I was getting OHL exposure and just like kind of getting playing time and having fun. And then like that was beneficial for me for the next year when I was actually draft eligible. But yeah, and then I ended up getting drafted to St. Mike's in the second round and played 4 years in junior for Dave Cameron, which was a cool experience. Definitely elevated my game there. He was a hard coach, kind of the old school. I don't know if it's like that anymore. It's kind of like a dying breed, the old school coach, right? You're in the industry now. Like, what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't know Cameron personally, but that kind of old school hard coach, I think when we grew up, we were in a transition period. So they were
Yeah,
still kind of there. And then it was also like maybe a couple of years behind us when those like age groups coming up, it was starting to transition out. Um, I appreciate you going through your whole career basically for me right now, but we're going to
yeah,
get
yeah,
through it. So don't feel like you got to rush there. I wanted to ask you
yeah,
first about, before we get to your OHL days, you're always known for being such a good skater. And I think that's why, when you would get called up to our team, for example, like you could log those minutes, you could fit right in. Like it wasn't really an adjustment for you. But did you do anything when you were younger, when in terms of like skating? Like were you with a skating coach? Was it anything off the ice, a mixture?
yeah. No, I went to so the guy who ran it, his name was Steve McClellan. And I went to him for 4 or 5 years. But he ran the power skating through Laura Stam was the company name. So she was a figure skater. You see all these young guys, even like the Toronto Maple Leafs have the figure skating coaches as their power skaters. So yeah, that was really beneficial for me for my skating stride. My skating was massive for me because I wasn't really a big player. So I needed to be faster than those big guys, right? Or else it wasn't going to work. So yeah, I did that. Mostly just power skating, this skill stuff that guys kind of do now, the dangling through. That kind of like happened later in my career. But yeah, just when I was young, definitely just the power skating, which was obviously, as you mentioned, very beneficial for me.
No, and obviously, especially nowadays, like as I said, we went through a transition period, but nowadays it's like if you're not at least a good skater,
Mm,
you have to do something else extremely well to make you beneficial overall. Like just seeing how teams today recruit guys, like if they're skating, if it's on a 1 to 5, let's say rating, and five's the highest, if it's anything lower than a 3, it's probably this guy's either got to be an exceptional net front guy or
yeah.
there's no chance. So, and I think that's a big reason too. You obviously were drafted to Mississauga, as you said. You went in the second round there, and you also were able to right away play games with us at the Cougars, obviously taking that step instead of going back to midget. I was curious, though, like being a high draft pick, it's very common. I always said this: if you're a first, second rounder, you're probably going to go to the OHL. Like it makes sense. But have
Yeah.
you ever before that thought, you know, about going another route, about going the NCAA route, or was it always growing up with the OHL that you were like, if I go high, I want to go here?
Yeah, it was kind of as you said. Like I said, if I went in the first 2 rounds and I had the opportunity to play as an underager, I would go to the OHL. And if I went any later and I wasn't going to play, then I would look towards college. I never really spoke to any teams. I was kind of putting it on the back burner to kind of see what happened. Um, I think there's benefits to both for sure. Now that I've been through the whole process, I saw guys coming into pro at like 22, 23 years old, and they were considered a rookie, right? And I was looked at as like a third year player. I started as a rookie when I was 20, but I'm being compared to these guys who are like, or I'm not even being compared. They're rookies, and I'm a vet now. You know what I mean? It was like almost beneficial for them to be older coming in to play with men. Like I was 19 years old, like coming in as a rookie, and that's what they're judging me on. Oh, who's this guy going to be? This is his first year, you know? So, if you're one of those studs, like obviously McDavid, all Bedard, like all these guys, and you're going to make a quick jump to pro and it's going to be seamless, maybe that's for you. But if it's going to take a little more time to develop, maybe college is the route for you.
No, I think you can raise points for both sides. And obviously, I went the NCAA route, but I grew up in Peterborough before, so I know the OHL route, and I thought it was a good route as well. But how was that first year for you? So, like as you said, when you make that jump to the OHL, you have Dave Cameron as your coach, who obviously has a tremendous resume, very strict in his ways, in a sense, like you're still coming up in that era where, the older guys are almost like men playing with them. Like I felt like it's very different than today. But how was that that adjustment for you?
I didn't find it too tough. It was kind of hard my first year just to find my place and where I was going to be because Dave Cameron was pretty candid with me and pretty transparent. He basically told me like until November, I don't know what I have. I'm brand new to this team. I got to sort through what I have. And that's why he wanted me to play some junior A games and I ended up playing with the Cougars with you. Um, and so I went down and played 14 games with the Cougars, probably got 14 shifts as well. But um, then, some forwards ended up going down with injuries. And so he called me back up, and I ended up playing my first year in the OHL. I played 45, 47 games as a forward. So, that was pretty fun. It was kind of, you know, cool to play a different position for a year and know that I had the ability to jump back and forth. And he used me throughout my career that way. Not all the time. He used me mostly on D, but if he needed to throw me up there from some situation, he wasn't afraid to. So yeah, it was tough at the beginning just because I didn't know where I sat with St. Mike's, and that's where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in the end, though, you as you said, you were able to be useful, and I think just another credit to your skating. You could obviously jump on forward, and you were obviously able to use your speed just in a different way.
Yeah.
And even with that year of not starting there, you still end up playing for the U17, so Team Canada Ontario, I believe. So that must have been a cool experience too. Believe you guys won gold if I'm not mistaken. So just talk about that. Like anytime you get to represent your country, I think that's obviously a very cool thing for you.
So was that is it the Labatt Center now, or was it the Labatt Center that in London?
It's a Budweiser now, I think.
Budweiser now. Okay, I think it was Labatt before. Anyways, like that arena alone, like you've been there, right? 9,000 fans all wearing red in the finals. Like it was really cool. Played against some top-notch players, guys in the NHL now, played with some guys. So awesome experience. I think when you're that young, you don't realize the magnitude of it. You just kind of go out there and play. But looking back now, I'm like, I was really lucky to have that opportunity and to win gold for that matter. So, I have the medal and the ring, or no, sorry, it's a watch, medal watch and jersey still. And that's something that I'll probably get framed at some point if I can ever turn my basement into a man cave. My wife will let me.
Future plans. Hopefully Taylor lets you. But
yeah.
The next thing I want to talk to you about. So I think this is I don't know how to say this, but like it's very cool to see when guys are able to do it. But I also think it's very hard for guys to do just how the OHL is structured. So as you know, your draft year is your second year. So the jump that you have to make as a player between year 1 and year 2 to maybe be noticed by NHL teams, I'd say is pretty tremendous because it's a lot of pressure too for some guys because if, they have aspirations getting drafted and maybe they don't have the year they wanted to have, then, then they're going against the next age group as well, trying to get drafted the second time over. But how did you go about like the summer before? Like, when you just had obviously your feet wet from the season before, you knew like what to expect. So it made it easy for you to take that next step into your second year?
Yeah, I definitely found my confidence was boosted. I realized I could play in this league and I fit. When you first come in, you're like, these guys are big, these guys are strong, they're fast. But then, like, you start to play with them and you're like, I can do this. Like, this is fine. So I did build a lot of confidence. I think Dave Cameron had a lot of confidence in me after the first year, and he partnered me with Cameron Gauntz. I don't know if you recognize that name. He got cup of coffee in the show, but awesome leader, awesome player. So that was beneficial for my game. And him and I had a great year together. And he had just gone, I think he went second round to the Colorado Avalanche, if I'm not mistaken. So playing with him, learning from him was awesome. So yeah, I thought it was great. Going into my second year, like you said, it is a little bit tough because it is early. Some guys actually get the third year. Just an example, Alex Hutchings, our friend, he actually was the same draft year as me, but he's actually your age, which is a year older, right? So he kind of got 3 years to develop, just because of the way they do it with like the birthday cutoff. They don't necessarily do it by birth year. So I guess it worked out for me, but I can see how some guys it would not. But at the same time, there's so much development time. And even like playing as an overager, as a 20-year-old, I see guys, if they're good enough, they'll find you, like, and they get max deals as a free agent and have pick of the litter of their teams, So yeah, it's early, but there's always opportunities to follow. That's how I feel about it.
No, I think that's very true. There's obviously many ways to look at it. And I think more so now, to be honest, like what you just mentioned is more common where, even if you're a late developer in whatever it is, the OHL or whatever,
Yeah.
if you are good enough, those teams will find you, because it's like finding a prospect that maybe other teams had passed on, and it could be a good gamble
Yeah.
for those teams. So,
And
and your second year, as we talked about, like you end up making a big step, 28 points that year as a defenseman. Maybe you play some forward too, who knows? But you end up getting drafted fifth round to Washington there. And as you mentioned, I thought it was pretty cool because at that time we're all working a twist. So there's you, Schwartzy, and Hutch all getting drafted in the same draft, which is cool because we all spend a lot of time together. I'm curious, like, how was it building up to the draft for you? Like, were you confident you would go? And then ultimately, how was your first experience at NHL camp in Washington?
yeah, I was pretty confident I would go. Um, just from the conversations I was having with my agent, and I had multiple interviews with teams, and I was feeling pretty confident. But as the picks start to go and you drop and drop and drop, I went in the fifth round, so it is probably considered a later round. Um, but it was, what a feeling when you actually get drafted. I had like 17 family members there, so thank God I did. It would have been it would have been brutal if I didn't. But just a side note, we were talking about the late opportunities. Like, if I kind of look back now and I didn't get drafted, and I look to my 19-year-old year was probably my best year, really good plus minus, put up really good points on a really good team, like, which obviously helps. Uh, but I think I would have had like great offers from multiple teams. So it almost would have been more beneficial for me not to get drafted, because I well, like I said, I would have had pick from, maybe 5, 6 teams, and maybe I get a max deal rather than what a fifth rounder gets paid. Um, so, lost track of the second part of that question. Can you remind me what it
I was
was?
just asking you how your first experience was at camp. Like, so you get
Yeah,
drafted, you end up going to camp and
yeah.
stuff.
Kind of starstruck, I guess, would be like, to be honest. I remember, my buddy Rob Bentavania, obviously, he was a big Habs fan at the time. And Jose Theodore had just been traded to Washington. And I was like, kind of looking at him like, this is my best friend's like favorite player in the world. And I'm on the ice with him. And then, Ovechkin, Backstrom, Green, Alexander Semin, like all these guys are in their prime and just like monsters out there, so skilled. So I was pretty starstruck. It took me a little bit like to actually like feel like I'm like, okay, like after like 3 camps, I was like, okay, like I can make this step to pro. Maybe I'm not ready for the NHL, but I can play at least pro and be ready. So it is kind of another thing where you kind of take those steps and gain your confidence until you realize that, you know, you are good enough to play with these guys.
No, for sure. I think like I don't know what percentage I'd say, but over 50% of it is just confidence in yourself. Like you can have all the skills, but if you don't believe you deserve to be out there, you're not going to perform up to your abilities or even, maybe get some luck along the way, like where
Yeah.
you kind of outperform. But the big thing it's always been confidence, between the years. But one other thing I want to talk to you about before we move on from your junior days, obviously, the 2010-2011 season. So you guys end up hosting the Mem Cup there. Your team was pretty stacked, which would make sense because you were hosting it.
Yeah.
Tremendous year for you personally, 43 points, 13 points down the stretch there in the playoffs. Unfortunately, come up a little short in the finals there, but just talk about, for me, that team, it must have been a lot of special memories. And also, like, I know winning would have been the perfect way to go out, but at the same time, getting to the final game of the season is also a good way to kind of end your junior career and move on to the next step.
Yeah. So we had a really good team, really hardworking team, just like hard nosed, like kind of like,
Mark Canton.
yeah. Like, oh, yeah, he's a Peterborough guy. That's right.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, like just all through our lineup, four lines, 60, two goalies, like everyone was solid, right? We are just very deep. And end up playing Owen Sound in the finals. And wouldn't you know it, Jordan Binnington comes in like game 3 or 4 and just stands on his head. It like watching the St. Louis Blues win the cup was like deja vu for me. Like honestly, I was like, this guy's doing this again. So yeah, he stood on his head, played awesome. They had a really good team too. I won't take it away from the rest of their team too, but lost game 7 overtime. So it's like just inches, right? Like one goal your way and you're winning the OHL finals. So I felt like we really deserved to be in the Mem Cup, even though we were the host, because we were right there. And we proved it. We made it to the finals, played St. John's. I mean, my opinion, we outplayed them. We outshot them. And it's one game. Their goalie plays well again. We score 1 goal, they score 3, So obviously winning it would have been better, but lessons were learned, right? Like what it takes to get there, and you need to finish it when you're there. So definitely tough, as you said, but you can always learn from those situations. And luckily I ended up winning a championship somewhere else, so it was good.
yeah, and we're gonna get to that soon. Don't you
Yeah, I don't
worry.
want to jump too far ahead again.
No, I no, don't worry. You'll get your credit. Don't worry. Don't want to. But I remember about that Mem Cup too, which was kind of funny. Was as you said, Bennington came in, kind of stole the show. I
Yeah.
think he ended up playing the whole round robin. And then for some reason, like they played somebody in like the semis or the quarters, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll just give him a break and put Stager," and they ended up losing. Like they were, I think it was supposed to be like everyone was predicting it could have been like you guys again in the finals,
When was that for?
like the Mem. I mean,
Oh, yeah. I don't know what. Yeah, I can't remember what happened with them. I know they had a couple injuries, a couple guys go down. I'm not sure about their goaltending, but yeah, like all 4 teams were awesome there. Kootenay was there with some really good players. Obviously, Owen Sound beat us in the finals, so they were worthy. And then St. John's, like they had a ton of talent there. Huberdeau, they had that Yurko who played in um,
Detroit.
Detroit for a bit. The Bavilio or one of the guys who got drafted first round to Montreal. So they had some really good young talent, and they went back to the finals the next year. So like
Yeah.
they were solid. They were solid for sure.
And how was so obviously after that heartbreaking loss there, like did you kind of have in your head like, I just had a very solid season, like it's a good time for me to move on, take the next step to pro? Like did you feel you're ready for that? And how was your adjustment to that first year of professional hockey?
Yeah, I went in at an all-time high of confidence, to be honest. Like, I had an awesome year with St. Mike's. As you read off my stats, like I was confident in myself, and I went into Washington camp feeling that way, and I came out of Washington camp feeling that way. Bruce Boudreau was the coach at the time, and he had a lot of nice things to say about me, and wanted to hopefully get me up that year, my first year pro, which was, obviously built my confidence even more. I went to Hershey. I thought I was playing very well. Coaches were telling me the exact same. And right at Christmas, I felt kind of blindsided. They just basically said, you know, you're the odd man out, numbers game. You've been playing well. Didn't really give me a reason to be sent down, just other than numbers. And I went down to the coast and finished my year there with South Carolina. It was an awesome place to play. Spencer Carberry was actually the coach, who's actually the coach in Washington now. So really good coach there. It was his first year coaching. You could tell right from the beginning he was going to have success. So, but again, lessons to be learned, right? Nothing's handed to you. You have to earn it. I thought, just because I was playing good enough and people were telling me I was good, that it would just be that way and I would get everything that I wanted. But lesson learned, you got to earn it, and no one's ever going to give it to you.
You got to earn it, but also at the same time, you have to have some like kind of right place, right time when you're just starting out too. Because as you said, it's a numbers game, and you're the fresh guy. And even when the coaches are telling you, yeah, you're playing well, maybe if one other guy isn't there or someone's hurt, like you stay there the whole year. Like that's just, I mean, we're just speaking out loud here, but you so then after that first year, that second year again, you get some games in the AHL, but obviously as you talked about, you are a champion, and this time you go down to Reading, and you guys, I remember you guys had a very, very stacked team, like some pretty good players there, and you guys end up winning the Kelly Cup there. Like, talk about that run, dude. I remember you coming home in like, I feel like end of May, like June or something, like, and you had like a massive beard, and then you were like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna start working out now because you had to start getting ready for camp next year. Like, it just went on so long.
Yeah. No, it was so our team was stacked. Hershey is one of two teams who is separate. Like they actually own the team. Like usually the NHL team owns both. So Hershey they sign a bunch of guys. So we really had like an AHL team in the coast. And then Hershey ended up losing in the first round. So some of those guys came and played with us too. So beefed our lineup a little bit more. We played some really good teams. Florida gave us a good run. Cincinnati gave us a good run. And then we ended up playing Stockton in the finals. Honestly, I think Cincinnati and Florida were our toughest rounds. And then we ended up just having a really good team, and we won it in Stockton in 5 games, and really good experience. But like I said, I had that loss in the back of my head from 2 years ago, and I wasn't ready to feel that way again. So I was lucky that we had a strong team, lots of good leaders, and we won the Kelly Cup.
I mean, I've told people this many times that like winning a Stanley Cup, winning gold medal, like those are obviously the two greatest things in life. But I think winning anything is also great because, you were obviously playing at this level, playing at a great level yourself personally, and we're on a great team. I just looked at your roster. You guys were definitely stacked, and you end up being champions. Like that's something that's with you forever. And, you can look back in 20 years and remember the times and stuff. Like when we were talking off camera before about Mannheim, like on Sunday's game, like they honored the 2001 team that won. So like these guys all came back. So whatever it is, 20, 23 years later or whatever. And like, they're on the ice, and it just means everything to them. So
yeah. Well, and like you said, no one can ever take it away from you, right? Like you're a champion, and like what it took to do that. You see these guys in the NHL playing through injuries, right? Like it's just the example of the NHL is so good because people actually watch a lot more of it, right? But you're putting yourself through that to win that championship as well, no matter what level it is, right? East Coast, AHL, DEL, like these are hard fought battles, hard series, like game of inches, like lucky bounces. Like that's what it takes to win a championship, quite honestly. Like I think back to one of the goals that we scored, it was like we were about to go into overtime, and a guy goes to rim the puck, hits the ref's skate, and goes like directly in the net. We win the game. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. You're like, what if that doesn't happen? Like big saves by remember when Washington won the cup? Holtby, that big save on Tuck, like moments like that, you're just like, what if that didn't happen? So like a little bit of luck and hard work, really.
Yeah, I'm just on that scene itself. I'm sorry to all Caps fans, but they don't win the cup if he doesn't stop that. Like
I
Vegas
know.
had all the momentum before that save.
Yeah.
Like for
Yeah.
this, and then it just changed everything. But as you're right, like one thing changes it. Um, before we talk about you transitioning to Europe, there's one thing I want to talk about. I think it's good for the young listeners to hear this too. Um, how was it for you on a personal level, maybe mentally? You know, you play 4 years North American Pro and you're doing that constant call up grind. You know, you feel, as you said, you just want a fucking championship in the coast and you still cannot, you know, be an everyday guy in the AHL for whatever reason. But how was that for your kind of your confidence and how was that mentally for you?
Mentally it was tough, but I think in the end it made me mentally stronger, right? Like you can't break me. Like I'm just gonna keep coming back, right? But definitely for the confidence, like you're like, do I deserve to be here? They're telling me I do, but like I'm also just getting sent down, right? Like after they tell me that. So I would go back to the coast and have a lot of confidence, but like when I go get called up, you kind of feel like you're like one mistake away from getting benched or like, and it's such a tough way to play. I mean, you probably can relate, like if you feel like you don't have the trust of the coach or the team, like you're too tense, right? So it was tough to play the way I really wanted to when I get called up. I eventually, like when I played my 4th year pro in Lehigh, I played lots of games and the coaches were giving me lots of trust. At this point, I was no longer a prospect. I was just an AHL contract. And I ended up getting sent down at the end of the year. Coach called me. He goes, sorry, Philly wants to keep their prospects up. You're going down. It's like odd man out again, stuff like that happens. And I understood it. I just wish I was treated that way when I was a prospect, to be honest,
Mm-hmm.
where they would send someone else down. I'm a young prospect. They're trying to develop their young guys to become a good team. But hey, I have a hard time complaining the way my career ended up. Sorry, my printer's just going off here for some reason.
Oh, good. Um, is that so? Would you say that's kind of because obviously the next season you end up making the jump overseas to Europe, you go to Bolzano there in the top Austrian league. Do you think like that kind of end of the year there in Lehigh when you got sent down was kind of like the nail in the coffin, being like, "Hey, I'm ready to give this side up and try
Yeah,
Europe."
I really felt that way because when I was signed in Lehigh, like I was kind of like biding my time and seeing what I could get, and I kind of like figured out what was out there, and basically I got it. All I could get was a 2-way, and it's not like I had too much of a better year. I was like, yeah, like I got better and I developed and everything, but I don't think anyone's going to give me an NHL contract or give me the opportunity. Like it's so I just kind of cut ties and I went over to Europe, and probably the right choice. I could have made it maybe even a year earlier, to be honest. Um, and Bolzano was an awesome spot for me to land because they gave me great opportunity to develop my game offensively. They kind of give me free range, gave me lots of power play time, and I just took off from there. And then the rest is history for my Europe career. I played in some really good spots and got really good opportunities.
Not to mention your first experience in Bolzano. I believe you got off the plane after not sleeping for 10 hours and they threw you right into testing. That they proved right. They tried to test
You
you
have a
right
good
away.
memory, man.
I just remember the stories in the gym, man. But no, that was hilarious. But
Yeah. So it was me. There was 4 of us. It was me, Taylor Voss, Joel Broda, and Jerry Polistroni. And we just like hop off the plane, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna go do a little bit of testing." The testing wasn't crazy. It was more like physical, like make sure your shoulders and knees, whatever. But like we're exhausted. Like you haven't slept. You've been up for like 30 hours, and then we finally get home. We eat dinner, and then the next day, or no, actually, we got to Bolzano. We practiced that night too. So we practiced, and they're like, "Yeah, we're going to Graz for a game tomorrow. You guys are playing." We're like, "What? This is outrageous!" So played a game against Graz the next day. It's like just like throw you right in the fire, but we survived, I guess.
there's no rules over in Europe. Anything goes. But
Oh, no. I have a saying: if it makes sense, don't do it. That's their rules over in Europe.
that's Europe. Do the opposite.
Yeah.
Um, how was it living in Bolzano there? Like, is it in like the mountains there kind of scenery?
Yeah, so they put you just outside of Bolzano in some small towns, like vineyards all around, mountains all around. Beautiful place. Like I'd recommend playing there. Like it's really nice. The organization was a little tougher when I was there my first year. When I returned later in my career, they kind of um, were better off financially and able to support the players a little bit better. Um, and yeah, provide us with equipment and money, and they redid their dressing room and everything. So they've really stepped it up, and it is an awesome place to live. I don't know if you've ever been to northern Italy, but like it reminds me a little bit of like out west in Canada.
Okay. No, I haven't been out there, but you're right. They like I would say over the past probably 3-4 years, like they're a top team in that league now because they have more money there, and as you said, they've got some investment in there. This year, I think they'll be a good team again. It
Yeah,
seemed like, dude, your career, like after your first year in Bolzano, you end up going to the top Czech league, which is a very good league.
yeah,
You end up playing there for 3 years. Komatov, I believe they're in the third league now. I think they had some
yeah.
money problems.
They're like a men's league team now.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, like, you seem to feel comfortable because you were in Bolzano 2 times, as you mentioned, you're also in 2 other teams in the Austrian league. So you seem to be comfortable going to that league as well as the Czech league. Like it's just funny to see guys when they
Yeah,
have careers and they just kind of stay in 2 leagues. But
yeah.
how was it playing in Komatov? Like I know it's kind of close to like the Saxon part, like old part of Germany. I think it's like an hour over the
Yeah.
border. But like how was the city and stuff, the organization? Obviously, it's the top league is a very good league.
Yeah, so top league, unbelievable. I didn't really know what to expect going to Czech. I had never known anyone who played there. So I was kind of going in blind, but I was like, these guys are workhorses and they're very good hockey players. Komatov as a city was not the nicest city I've ever played in, but hour outside of Prague and hour and a half to Dresden. So lots of good cities nearby. In terms of the organization, I just kind of mentioned they're like in the men's league now. Basically, what happened is they went bankrupt. Um, they didn't end up paying us final paychecks, so they got demoted and kicked out of the league. So, not the best representation of the Czech league, but I guess they did what was necessary and kicked them out of the league. They weren't going to stand for that. So, but as far as other teams go, I think they're run very professionally, um, and lots of good things to say about the Czech league and the Czech players for that matter. Like I was one of the only imports one year, and they're very welcoming. Even my neighbors who I live near would invite me out to the garden and have beers and barbecues and stuff. So Czech people awesome. Czech league's awesome. I enjoyed my time there. To say it was easy would not be correct. It was tough. It was hard hockey. It was hard work, and obviously the language barrier was pretty difficult. But nonetheless, enjoyed my time there for sure.
I mean, you've always been a hard worker, so I think the hard working part of it, that's kind of what fuels you. But I do remember the one summer, I can't remember which year it was, if it was after year 1 or year 2, you came home and we were like in July or something, and you're supposed to go back at the end of the month, and you're like, yep, still missing my past 2 paychecks or something. Like, not sure if I'm getting on this flight. And I'm just like looking at you. I'm like, Flem, like, why are you going back even? They might not pay
I
you.
know. Yeah, I just kind of like my first year I had a good year and the coach liked me. And the first year, like they were late on paychecks, but they were paying us. So I was like, this isn't too bad. And they offered me a 2-year contract worth good money. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this anywhere else. Like this is a pretty solid contract. Um, so I decided to stick it out. I tried to get out of my last year and sign somewhere else. They wouldn't let me go and didn't end up paying me my full paycheck. So I don't know, kind of BS that way, considering I was trying to leave and, you know, go to a place that would pay me. But it is what it is. I probably could have stuck it out in the Czech league a little longer with some other years. I had some interest, but it was tough on my wife too because there's not a lot of imports. It was hard on me. We wanted to go back to like either Germany or Austria, where there's a little more English speaking guys, more imports, and just like better social environment, basically. And that's why we ended up in Vienna thereafter.
Yeah, I mean, Vienna is obviously a great place to play. I've seen a game there. The rink's got that cool one side with the glass and just
Yeah.
great city as well. It was one of my favorite cities I've been at Christmas. It was great. But I wanted to ask you that. So well, first to touch back on what you said about the 2-year deal thing, I think that's especially in Europe when guys can get security like that, like just that, a 2 or 3 year deal, it kind of makes you feel more welcoming, I'd say, to maybe put up with some of the bullshit on the side if you have to, because you're like, you know what, like chances are I'm probably gonna get most of it, or I should, let's hope. But it's like I also
Yeah.
have security, which is important. But I wanted to ask you about kind of Taylor there, like how you said obviously the Czech was a little hard for her, but like did she obviously enjoy coming over to visit you in Bolzano? Was she there fully with you by the time you guys were in Vienna? Because I know you had Jackson at one of the
Vienna.
years you were in Vienna
Yeah.
in Austria after I believe you had him,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, so she would typically in when I was in Czech, she would come over for like 2 or 3 months and then go home for a month and a bit. So she was there, I guess, half the time, let's say. And then in Vienna, we had Jackson just before. And well, that was the COVID year. So I actually didn't get to see this city that much.
Mm-hmm.
There's no point of going downtown if nothing's open, like so tough year. Even just like personally, like I had some injuries, wasn't getting too much playing time with them. I don't know, they just had their guys or didn't have trust in me. I'm not really sure what it was, but um, no, it was a little tough, like keeping the kid inside all the time. I mean, everyone went through their struggles, so no one probably wants to hear my complaints, but um, I wish everything was open because it would have been awesome to enjoy my time in Vienna. It was probably one of the best cities I played in, but unfortunately everything was just closed down and there wasn't much to do.
The crazy time, man. I can't believe like we're gonna look back at this in 20 years and just be like,
Like,
remember that.
yeah,
Um, the next thing I want to talk to you about, like, so after Vienna, you had to go on a VLAC there. Um, in 38 games, you had 26 points as a defenseman. Um, not sure if that was, I can't remember if that was a late start or a mix of injuries or whatever, but I'm curious. So, like, when you're having such a good year like this and you haven't played the full season, so let's just count it up. You're probably in 40 points or something in a 50 something game season. Like, was there any thought in your head like, you know, I want to keep going here, or was there something else from back home where you're like, you know what, like this is my last year. It's time to turn the page here.
yeah, yeah. So I had torn my PCL, which is like in the back of your knee. That's what kept me out for those whatever it is, 14 games. Um, but yeah, no, I had a really good year. Again, a really good team, which always helps. And I kind of made the decision probably halfway through the year that I was gonna retire. Someone gave me a really good opportunity to work back home. Good job that wasn't going to be there forever. It was either kind of take it or leave it. I kind of figured I only had 3 or 4 years left in me before my kids they're going to be going to school and everything, and I wanted them settled down. So, um, you know, time to stop being selfish and worry about my hockey career and kind of think about my family, to be honest, and having them near my parents. My parents are here to help out, so are my wife's parents and aunts and uncles and all that stuff. Would have liked to keep playing, obviously, but more important things in my life, I guess, trumped it.
Yeah, and that's a decision that a lot of people eventually are faced with.
Yeah,
I think it's good like when you have something right away to step into and something that you feel confident doing or like will evidently lead to something even
yeah,
better. And that's always good because there's lots of guys, man, like they play until their mid 30s, even high 40s, but the reason they keep playing is yeah, they enjoy playing, but they're also so nervous to make the adjustment. And like I've seen
yeah.
it obviously through both my playing and coaching career. So that transition, like how was it? How was it for you? What exactly are you doing for work right now?
So I work for a company called DK2. I'm in sales for them. We sell like kind of like automotive accessories. So we do like snow plows, trailers, bike carriers. We also do some outdoor power equipment and winches. So I'm in the sales department there. So transition was quick. I just hopped right into it. I did barely took a week off, jumped right in. But going into the corporate world is very different than hockey. Um, So I've been learning a lot really fast. No choice but to do that. But I've actually enjoyed it. I've got some really good people I work with. They kind of make it feel like a hockey dressing room. We joke around and, make fun of each other. We just don't have the team showers. That's all.
Not yet.
Not yet. One day.
Well, I mean, maybe this is a good transition. Thank you for this. Maybe that's why you suited up this year for the Wentworth Griffins a little bit to get the team showers, obviously, with
Yeah.
our buddy Corbs there, UOD
Yeah.
partners. How was that? Like, obviously it's senior A. It's something just to do a couple times a week, but was it cool to just get back on the ice and play a little bit and be back in
Yeah.
kind of that dressing room atmosphere?
Yeah. I mean, I loved being there. Like, hockey was good, probably better than I thought it was going to be honest. Playing with Corbs was awesome, just steady Eddie. I know where he's going to be all the time. So love playing with Corbs. I mostly, my decision was mostly just so my son could watch me play. And then the games were so late that he really didn't watch me anyways. I want him to kind of remember that
Yeah,
dad was a hockey player. But, I did awesome guys in the dressing room. Lots of fun with those guys. That organization, actually, the Wentworth Griffins, like they actually treat you really well. Like I got treated better by them than some of the teams I played for, I swear. Like they treated us really well. I probably won't play again this year. Just it's tough going like from work. You work 8 till 5, and then you're walking in the door, eating, and then right back out the door. It's a lot sometimes. So I probably won't play again, but maybe I'll hop out on the ice with a men's league or something here and there. And then once my little guy is old enough, hopefully I'll be able to coach him. So I don't want to just totally jump out of hockey. I have a lot to give. Um, Hockey's given me a lot, and I want to give back. But I'm just kind of waiting for that opportunity to come.
yeah, and I think too, as you just said, like the family aspect of it, like you said, when it was time to move on from playing, it was a family decision. And even now, like senior A is
Yeah,
fun, it's great, but at the same time, it's a lot of late nights. You're going right from work home quick, maybe see the kids and wife, and then it's right to the rink. So
yeah,
it's long days. So I understand that. Two more here, and then I'll let you go because I know your little one is sleeping there. You got to go be dad duty on this
yeah.
holiday. Um,
Daycare.
two quick ones for you. So when you look back at your career, did you think you would kind of have the career that you ended up having?
Oh, geez. Like if I think about like when I was really young, I don't even know if I like even dreamed. Like, obviously you're like, oh, I want to play in the NHL or whatever, right? Like you don't dream this path that you're gonna take, right? It's pretty wild when you really look back on it. I mean, yeah, like the places it took me is just crazy, right? Like you probably feel the same way now you're living over in Germany. Like would you ever have thought that, you know what I mean? Like I never would have dreamed of traveling Europe because it's not something I would do, right? It would I wouldn't do that 3 month trip, but I got paid to go over to Europe and see the world. So very thankful for the opportunity that hockey's given me. And I guess yeah, I wanted to be in the NHL. I didn't make it, but man, I had some good experiences. Like that I'll remember forever. Friendships you make that are forever, right? Obviously, you're over in Europe now, and glad we get to catch up. And those are like friendships that I'll have forever, right? Just from one simple game. So, very thankful, and that's part of why I want to give back to it, right? Like eventually, whenever that time comes.
No, it's so true that and I tell this to so many people, just because you didn't make the NHL doesn't mean you didn't have a successful career. It doesn't mean that
Yeah,
you failed. Like it's everyone else, everyone's path is their own, it's their own experience. They'll have highs and lows like anyone, but like, yourself, you got to play many years
yeah,
North American pro, many years Europe, as you said, you were paid to basically go travel in a sense and made a lot of friendships that you still have today. So that's something that you can't take back and wouldn't change, I imagine. Last one here for you. I like to end it on this one. I know you're not so familiar with it, but if there is one piece of advice or maybe multiple pieces of advice, if you have multiple, that you would give your younger self. So if you're speaking to Brett Flemming at 15, 16, 17 years old, what are a couple pieces of advice you'd give him? And also the younger generation listing in the same position?
Jeez, that's a good question. I try to look back and say that I did everything I could to make it, and it just didn't happen. But obviously, in retrospect, there's some decisions that I could have probably made different. But at the time, I made the best decision I could, and that'd probably be my advice: is just make the best decision that you think is for you. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to listen to everyone else. Um, everyone tells you what you should be doing, what you should be working on, right? Like, I mean, I just worked hard and I went out there and had fun. And then in the end, I ended up making it. Like, I don't know. Like, it seems today, and you're probably in the world a little bit more than me, but like these kids, their whole life is hockey. I don't know, man. Like it's like a job from day one. It becomes a job, don't get me wrong, right? Like it did become a job, but like go out there, have fun, work hard. Like, I don't know, learn the lessons of life. Like there's so much to be learned from hockey: teamwork, commitment, hard work, like lose how to win, how to lose. Like there's so many things that you learn in hockey, and it's not just about, you know, making it to the NHL or being the best. There's so much more to it. But I think the biggest part for me is I went out there and had fun, and then eventually it turned into like something for me. How do you feel about it? I'd be curious what you would have to say.
Well, I agree with a lot you said. I've had a couple of guests on it. It's the same thing. Like whether it's, you know, they would tell the younger generation to do multiple sports because, nowadays I think you're right. Kids feel that, when they're 7 years old that they should be, starting to work out and it's gotta be hockey, 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 hockey. No, like your kids, go have fun, like enjoy your childhood. Hockey brings great things. As you said, it brings camaraderie, it brings friends, it teaches you how to win, how to lose, hard work, discipline. But at the same time, like it doesn't have to be 24/7. Like whatever it is, the 3 hours that you're at the rink or like whatever, like you focus on hockey and then the
Yeah,
rest go enjoy life. Like there's other things. And I think that will obviously bring more good down the road. So um no, that's good advice for the younger generation. And like obviously it's too true, man. Like everybody thinks
yeah,
like, oh, McDavid 24/7 is hockey. I'm sure he does a lot and he's a very skilled player, but at the
yeah,
same time, he has a life outside of hockey or he would go insane.
yeah,
So
right. Yeah, two sport is great. Like, I mean, I played lacrosse,
yeah,
which I think complements hockey really well, and honestly, made me way tougher. Like that sport it's a tough sport, and slashing, cross checking, and keeps you in really good shape. And running, like a lot of running. So I
doesn't
loved it.
surprise me that you did it.
Yeah. So I would recommend two sports for sure. Get your mind off of another sport, but like I said, like I wasn't 10 years old thinking, oh, well, I need to play hockey because I need to make it to the NHL. I was like, no, I'm going to go play lacrosse in the summer and I'm going to go cross check some people. Like, I'm going to go have fun. So I agree with the two sports as well. That was a good little add in there.
Yeah, no, it's hopefully the parents listen and take the advice because it's everything that we've learned along our way and what we've seen from other people because we've obviously played with a lot of people and
Yeah.
you yourself have played with people that obviously have gone on to play in the NHL. Like just even looking at just your roster quickly the one year, like you had Philip Grubauer the one year who's had a very good NHL career.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure there was many more, but that was just the first one that came because I saw the German flag. But
Yeah. 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 That's
um,
right.
no, man. Again, I appreciate you taking the time. It was great to have you on. Great to catch up with you as well. And I think it was very influential for the young listeners. And also, it's cool. Like I always tell the guests this. It's cool to go down memory lane. I feel like it brings back kind of you kind of think of things that you went through. Training. Seasons. So
Yeah.
happy you could do it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man. It was good to catch up. It's been a while. Too long for sure. The time zone's not always easy, as us trying to match up our schedules to hop on here. It took us about 2 weeks to find a time and date, but we got it done, buddy. It was good to catch up.
Yeah, man. Time change, you working plus being a dad, there's lots of things you're busy doing. So,
Yeah.
but appreciate it again. We're going to stay in touch here. I got your number now. And for those listening, give us a follow, Instagram, check us out on YouTube. give Brett Flemming a follow on Instagram if you want to see some throwback pictures. This guy used to have hair, nice long salad on him. And until next week, cheers and ciao.